as a panel and ask each other questions because I'm a little tired of asking questions, but no, but that's okay. This is my favorite panel, or one of. I love all of them, but I feel like coaching and mindfulness are so important, like regardless of what you are doing, right? Like regardless if you are a founder, if you are in big tech, if you're an engineer. And so I would love for each of you to sort of introduce yourself, maybe starting with Dan, and share a little bit about how you came to this journey of actually being a founder operating in this broad mindfulness and coaching space.
So first of all, thank you so much. What's happening here is just absolutely amazing, and what I see, what happened just in 1 year with Happyverse, it's just an amazing example of how we should build our companies. So I'm Denis Simonov. I'm the founder and CEO of Human Horizons Academy. I'm also the president of Harvard Business School Alumni Association of Southern California. So I came here from Southern California, connecting the bridge with the northern one. How we started, it all started actually from Mac's idea when he visited Orange County, and he said, "Oh, Denis, why wouldn't you organize a retreat where we could maybe sit at the ocean and meditate and did some mindfulness exercises?" And it ended up in actually inviting Max and people from McKinsey and Bank of America and Amazon to a leadership training with instructors from U.S. Special Operations and with a Navy SEAL background, and where we were at the shooting range testing our limits, physical limits, mental limits, and doing physical exercises that would sharpen focus and build resilience. And it started to evolve into something else, and we understood, we had basically two problems. First is our program is very real. Like, what can be more real than having Navy SEAL type exercises at the beach or doing land navigation course? And at the same time, how can we scale up? And not everyone can come to San Diego, and not everyone is capable actually of doing that. How can we make it more accessible? And that's how we actually we became one of the, and it's a privilege to become one of the first customers for Happyverse, and Happyverse helped us build the confidence of our instructors.
We can actually have a little address.
Yeah, so this is a real person.
Can we turn on sound? Yeah, I think he
Nathan, is there sound? We can.
Okay, we'll do it.
Yeah, well,
next time.
Yeah,
or you can come and talk to real. Oh, ready now? Okay.
You get dropped into a special operations style environment built to stretch you. First, you learn the basics, then you jump into advanced tactics, team briefings, and real opposition drills. People go from hostage rescue scenarios to problem solving in a full 3D environment, expanding how they think and lead. The whole point is simple. Take these tools back to your life and become a better parent, teammate, executive, or human. You'll train daily with AI tools, and if you want the full grind, the in-person course is ready for you.
Yeah. And our mission is to elevate human potential in the age of AI and robotics. And while AI tech and systems are evolving with an exponential pace, what about humans? What's left to us? And what we want to do is to use AI actually to elevate humans as well.
Thank you. Mike, could you share a little bit about your story? You worked at a big company before, or a small company called Facebook, and now you're a founder. Could you share a little bit about your journey?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much, Max. This has been a fantastic event. So my name is Mike Meaney. I'm the founder and CEO of One Small Step. We're building a world where access to high-quality mental health care is as easy as calling an Uber. We focus first on substance abuse and serious mental illness on nights and weekends. when those patients have the least amount of support and end up in the emergency room the most. So we help them de-escalate, and we help them not relapse and avoid the emergency room. So my journey to starting this company, so I used to work at Facebook. I was on the marketplace team. I think a lot about marketplaces. I think they're really interesting technologies. Even though, now they're 10 or 15 years old, there's still a lot of low-hanging fruit, a lot of areas, especially mental health. There's 90 million Americans who are struggling with substance abuse and mental illness. I'm one of them. I'm 12 years clean and sober myself, including nights and weekends, which is an important caveat. But yeah, like nights and weekends are when I got triggered, and that was when I used to relapse. And it's when there's no support for people. So I was like, what if we could build a marketplace where people could have on-demand support that helped them get through those moments? And it turns out that was extremely needed. We've been around for about a year, and our call volume grew 10x last quarter. And we're thinking about partnering with various AI companies, but Max is one of the first people that saw the potential vision to help scale our peers and extend them by creating confidants of them. So we're in the early stages of doing that. And I'm the first peer on our platform, so I'm one of the first confidants that we've been testing.
Awesome. Well, Seth, could you share about your journey?
Yeah.
It's so fascinating.
Hey, everybody. Nice to be sitting in this chair. So I was actually a Buddhist monk for 7 years, or 8 years living in a monastery. And after living that whole spiritual transformational life, I came back. I'm from Boston originally. And I had this task of how do I take all of that journey, all the things I've realized, all that I've seen and learned, and how do I bridge that back to the community, to the society? And I actually started doing that with schools. So I was working in middle schools and high schools, leading mindfulness and meditation for the students. I called myself a rent-a-monk, where the teachers could rent me out for a session. But slowly I realized that it was a systemic difficulty, that there was really a mental health crisis. So then I started leading retreats for the teachers and for the administrators, and really attempted to shift the whole school culture. Taking entire schools, the administrators and the teachers onto retreat to try to show them a better way of being together. That eventually led me to MIT, where I was on the wellness team. And that was a fascinating jump, because when I was at high schools, they were saying these kids are struggling, they're getting C's and D's, they need help. But then I went to MIT and they said these kids are getting straight A's and they're committing suicide, they need help. And suddenly I realized it doesn't matter if your grades are good or bad, everybody needs help. And as I came over to the West Coast, I started working, actually similar to Mike, in treatment centers and working with people that were having drug and alcohol issues and various mental health issues. And I've just kind of taken it upon myself to find all the various ways to support people. And for me, somehow very naturally, it led to Happyverse, where I said, hey, this is a way to scale this up to reach more people, to have a bigger impact. I think AI it's an amplification device, for better or for worse. And so if we can give it the correct impulses, kind of like Brendan's talk, getting clear on the why, we can create the biggest possible positive impact. So that's kind of what brings me here.
Awesome. Well, we heard a lot about AGI and challenges that still are ahead of us in terms of how to create it from infrastructure, software standpoint. But let's imagine a scenario where there is an AGI and people don't need to work anymore. Like there is infinite supply of, food, money, like UBI, whatever. What would happen to humanity from your perspectives? Because work is such an integral part of everyone's life, right? Like we spend most of our non-sleeping time working. And do you think it's good for humanity? Humans will just find, new hobbies, or how would they fill in that void if there is no work anymore? Do you have any perspective on that, Dan?
So first of all, yeah, I would like to say that AI will take a lot of jobs, obviously. And then there is really a question what we are, like those who lost this job are going to be doing. And it's happening already. Amazon has laid off 30,000 people, or like in the process, they're laying off about 600 from the corporate office and 600,000 people from like warehouse workers, replacing them by robots. So it's happening, and like we cannot deny that. So really, one of the challenges for humanity is how to create new meaning, because like old definition of meaning, when a person, especially in the US, would be defined by their job, is vanishing. And job market is tough now, and it's not going to be easy in the near future. And but at the same time, so there will be some difficult transition period, I believe. But ultimately, I think pastor who gave a speech today, if we think about the meaning and what it means to be godlike, and it means to be creators. We have to be creators, and this is what actually startup founders do. They are creators and they teams, and just more of us should start creating things and expressing themselves as integral human beings, not just doing some very narrow defined functional job as an accountant. And like I think these jobs just should not exist in the first place. But for that we need to build economic and technological system so that people would really have this universal high income, first of all, and then they would be encouraged to create. So there are a lot of exciting challenges, of course, when you think about that. Like, yeah, you have all the opportunities, and now you are free to do whatever you want, whatever like your hobbies, whatever other things you want to create in this world. But there is a way to get there, and in the meantime, there will be a very difficult time, and that's why we also want to prepare people for that period, because again, let's be honest, about 50% of Americans, their average savings are $600. And about 10% of Americans own about 80% of the US wealth. So there is huge inequality, and a lot of people will lose their jobs, and there is a lot of instability that I don't, like, it's quite a possible scenario, let's say, that is coming. And we, with our Human Horizons Academy program, we prepare people to be mindful and sharp and focused and strong, regardless of the external chaos. And actually, part of our program is called Master of Chaos. And also, what we are doing, we are building human-to-human connection that we are starting to lose with this also technological disruption. When you work as a team, you sense your, like, the shoulder of your peer, and there are some exercises when you really have to make tough decisions between, is it you who is going to be suffering at the expense, and because of that, your peer will be suffering less, or you will take care of yourself, and so on. So you really test yourself, and you see who you are and who people around you are. But anyway, so that's what we want to prepare people for. But ultimately, the future is bright, and it's an opportunity to create meaning.
Thank you. Yeah, Mike, do you have any perspective on maybe even this like very positive AGI scenario where people do not necessarily struggle financially, somehow, you know, big businesses or founders, politicians, they find a way to provide everyone with something, but I guess like the population, vulnerable population you're working with, if they don't have a job, would they be more tempted to, let's say, start drinking alcohol and do any other addictions, or how are you thinking about that scenario?
Yeah, so I think it's a great question. My suspicion is that we're a long way away from massive employment dislocation, just because I think there's still a lot of new jobs that will be created. But I do think it's something we have to think about, and drug addiction, mental illness, substance abuse are ailments predominantly of the developed world, not exclusively, but they are disproportionately concentrated. And oftentimes a lot of these symptoms take root when people aren't able to push against some resistance toward a goal. So I think the question is less, the positive spin is that, like in kind of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, material goods is actually quite low. So there's a lot higher good goals that we can all be striving toward. And if people are liberated from material needs and can focus on these more existential needs, I think that's a beautiful thing. But I think we need more education, and I think we need more support, more stories, a lot more of Seth's work, a lot more of the pastor's work, a lot more of our work, Happyverse work, because people know how to work, but we don't know how to find meaning. And so I think that's kind of the conversation we have to have.
Fantastic. Well, Seth, maybe if you could share a bit your perspective on finding meaning. I remember one of the first confidence that we created using your avatar, your likeness, was like meaning bot or purpose bot, confident that helps people find their purpose. Could you share a little bit about your experience helping people find purpose? And is that even possible?
Yeah, I mean, it's such an important and interesting question because I feel like everyone's trying to make money and to get rich and to retire. But then once people retire, they're often faced with that existential wall of what is the meaning of my life? What am I doing? A lot of people, once they retire, they're hit with depression. Their health declines. That there's this interesting thing that we get to this place we've been striving to get to, and then we suddenly realize that we're actually terrified to get to that place and that we were very underprepared for that. I do think that as we approach the time where people are allowed to step away from having to quote unquote work, be productive members of society financially to support themselves, I think as that transition happens, there will probably necessarily be bridges built towards those people. There will be programs. There'll probably be people that actually take it upon themselves to create programs, community events, almost ways to help people find their purpose, if it were, you know. I'm a believer that everybody's purpose is already embedded within them. I don't think that purpose is something we have to find. I don't think it's something that's out there. I think it's already encoded in our DNA and our story and our ancestors' story and our parents, that there's some very specific wisdom that we hold. We've all lived very unique lives that nobody else has ever lived. We all have a very unique perspective that no other human being ever has. So we all have something very specific to offer this world that nobody else can offer it. And I often guide people, it's not so much about finding your purpose, because if you just look at nature, you look at the world, you don't look at a cloud or a tree and say, what is your purpose? It's like, sure, it rains or it releases O2 or whatever it is, but that kind of existential purpose question, we seem to put that on ourselves as if we're different than everything else in nature. You know, we're all just allowed to be here. Being is the purpose. Being alive is your purpose. And being alive as specifically you, and your exact expression is your purpose. And it's really allowing yourself to do that fully and to release all the conditioning, whether from your childhood or your society or your, you know, parents or your own wishes to be liked and accepted, that have contracted and kind of crushed your own natural expression of who you are. And so ideally, right, I guess we're talking in ideals, this utopian kind of vibe. Ideally, I'd want to see us living in a world that it almost feels like Burning Man, right? Or it feels like a big concert, or it feels like a festival, like something where everybody's wearing their own outfit, expressing themselves in their way, allowing themselves to freely exist in a way that brings them and others joy and this sense of celebration. And I do see that is possible when we allow ourselves and each other to do that. And ideally, right? As we have our needs provided for, we will see a renaissance of art and music and literature and theater, and people will have that time to actually ask themselves, what do I want to create in this world, versus being stuck in this survival mentality that most people seem to be in, where only our kind of reptilian brains are functioning and everything else that we need to be creative is lacking the resources and the energy and the focus it needs.
Yeah. Well, do we have any questions from the audience for our panel? Please raise your hand if you do. Actually, we were supposed... Oh, okay, great. Alex?
Hello. Yeah, thank you for the panel. I wanted to ask about maybe your clients, right, for your companies. When you look back, who are these people who you were able to help, and who you thought you wanted to help but were unable to? Thank you.
Me? All of us? Yeah, for myself, my feeling is that I can help everybody. That's just my baseline. Everybody needs support, everyone needs help, everybody could receive some more wisdom and understanding. But the people that I've found that gravitate towards that help are people that are in the most pain, right? Tony Robbins talks about this as well, that a pain point. So people that are acutely in crisis seem to gravitate towards me. People that are supporting a loved one. I worked in schools because it was parents trying to support their children, that it created a lot of worry and stress, so they came to me. So, you know, we live in a very reactive society around mental health. People seem to not be so interested in proactively supplementing their mental health before it becomes a problem. It usually needs to be an extremely painful problem, depression, anxiety, stress, whatever, before people are willing to seek help. So those are generally the people that I've found come to me is when there's something screaming inside of them that they realize they can't go further until they get some sort of support.
Yeah, thank you for the question. It's a really interesting one. I mean, so my belief, similar to Seth, is that everybody has the capacity for self-directed transformation. And I firmly believe that it starts with taking the smallest possible step toward that. That's why I named my company One Small Step. The greatest challenge is credible belief that it's possible. And so our platform, we have certified peer support specialists, so people who are in recovery themselves, like myself. That's a credible proof point that recovery is possible, which is different from the clinical healthcare world, where you're talking to a doctor or a therapist who may not be in recovery themselves and who may tell you you should stop drinking or you should take your meds, but it's just not as credible. And so my kind of fundamental belief is that every single person who struggles with substance abuse or serious mental illness, there's a race between how many times they use and how many times they credibly hear it's possible and actually internalize that. And so that's what we're trying to scale. And there's a lot of people who are willing to hear that and take that one small step. And there's a lot of people that are too overwhelmed to start that journey. And those are the ones that we struggle to reach.
Yeah, thank you again for the great question. So for us, first of all, I think we can bring the biggest value to people who know and feel that they have big potential, but they are still figuring out how to release and unleash it, and who want to deeply connect with themselves, to know themselves. Because oftentimes we just don't know who we are until we put ourselves in difficult situations, and then we know that, okay, I'm afraid of that, but I'm capable of overcoming that. Or I thought I wouldn't be able to stand these adversities, but actually I am. Or I didn't know that in situation of high stress, I don't know how to react and how to be productive and focus, and I'm more kind of shaky and less reliable than I thought. But if we just spend our time in front of our computers, we reduce ourselves to very limited experiences in life. So we created physical part of that, so people can connect them with themselves, and because it's a team training, people can connect with other team members on very deep level, because everyone there is who they are. And on the beach, wet and sandy, and sometimes physically exhausted, sometimes mentally, but people learn to accept who they really are. And after that, the teams, what we see, they come really cohesive and unstoppable and equipped with the tools. And then with AI, the avatars that Happyverse builds, we help them to transform this experience into something that can be integrated in their lives.
Fantastic. Well, I was told that we need to start wrapping up, but actually we were supposed to have another speaker for this panel, John, who unfortunately wasn't able to come because he got sick yesterday, but we created his confidant, and so that's the way for us to have people, help them scale, be present in multiple places, even if they're not physically present. So let's just ask like 1 or 2 questions real quick. See if it works, hopefully, fingers crossed. Hello, hi John, can you hear us?
Thank you for the chat, take care.
Oh, hey, we're just getting started. So John, we wanted to ask about your perspective on the intersection of AGI and happiness. So what excites you the most about AGI, or what worries you the most, and how we can create this happy path to AGI?
AGI's greatest promise in my...
Yes, please continue. I'm not going to interrupt you. Oh, and also if you can briefly introduce yourself, John.
I'm John Talbert, the Chief Guide Officer at Forte and a longtime pastor, coach, and storyteller. My journey has taken me from the pulpit to professional sports chaplaincy, to founding compassion-focused nonprofits, and now to guiding a tech-enabled soul care platform that helps people thrive at work and in life. What excites me about AGI is its potential to become a true companion in the pursuit of happiness, offering personalized, evidence-based guidance that meets each person where they are, much like a wise guide who listens, reflects, and nudges toward deeper meaning. At the same time, I'm wary of anything that reduces our inner lives to data points or that amplifies isolation. We must embed empathy, purpose, and spiritual insight into every algorithm. By designing AGI with a whole person philosophy, body, mind, and spirit.
Okay, John, we should pick up a bit more concise LLM model next time. But John, do you have any advice for the audience in the room, for founders, for technologists, for investors, how to live a happier and more fulfilling life using all your experience being a priest, being a co-founder of a mindfulness company?
Founders, technologists, and investors, listen up. First, treat every venture as a calling, not just a profit engine. Start each day with a brief pause. Breathe, name one thing you're grateful for, and set an intention that serves both your mission and the people you impact. Second, build a soul care habit loop. Schedule regular check-ins with a trusted guide, whether a mentor, coach, or a spiritual advisor, to surface blind spots before they become crises. Third, design products and investments with whole person metrics. Ask, how does this create connection, purpose, or relief from stress? Let those answers shape roadmap decisions. Finally, remember that success is relational. Celebrate wins with your team, share stories of failure openly, and invest time in relationships outside of work. Those moments refill the joy tank and keep the vision sustainable.
All right, well, fantastic. Thank you so much, John. Thank you so much, panel. Really appreciate your time. It was amazing. Okay, and with that, we are getting to the closing of our conference. I just wanted to thank everyone for joining us.